Welcome to Innovate for Impact, an informative mini-series brought to you by Tania Gomez Consulting. In this series, we embark on a journey to explore the remarkable innovations that are shaping the landscape of the NDIS for a more inclusive future. Join us as we uncover inspiring stories of visionary individuals, organisations and technologies that are revolutionising the way we approach disabilities.
So welcome, Phuong, from Connect My Community. It's so great to have you here and meet you in person after so long. I feel like we've been in the same orbit for a long time and do really similar things. So it's really good to meet another compliance nerd, someone that loves quality and compliance as much as I do. For those who aren't as familiar with your work, can you walk me through what you do? What is Connect My Community?
Well, Connect My Community started as the typical story of a friend of mine needed help with the registration process as an NDIS provider and reached out to me going, Phuong, you know that government stuff, could you help me with this? And I was like, yeah, sure. You know, at the time I was working in another role in government, and next thing you know, it starts off with one person and word of mouth spreads and another needs help and another, and now I've got a business helping providers not just with their compliance but their operations, their systems, just generally running the business in a virtual way and helping make some of that sense in a very confusing space. So that's what I love to do.
Yeah, amazing. And tell me about the community element, because I guess what you do differently than some of the people who just focus on registration is really build that community for your clients.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing community that I've really nurtured over the last 5 years because I've really tried to focus on the relationships with each of my clients and their community as well, and gotten to know their stories and their participants, the families. And as a result of that, you end up almost unintentionally vetting the providers and the people that you work with to find the ones that are the clients that match your values, that align with what you want to see happen in the sector. And then that community then grows to a point where people are supporting each other, you know, as providers, and there's like amazing collaboration and partnerships going happening because they've also got those same aligned values of making that difference in our community. And so Wollongong's been an amazing place to be able to do that from the ground up because it is really relationship orientated in that way, and being able to say to someone, look, I think, you know, if you're looking for someone to work with, this is someone I can recommend really highly because I find them trustworthy, they have integrity, they're not trying to rip you off or do anything that is just not nice. And so it's nice to be able to have a whole community of providers and people that you just have that peace of mind, they're good people.
I always tell my clients when they ask me that question of how do I find participants or how do I grow my business, however that's framed, I always say that actually NDIS is a business to business market because the referrals between them is actually where you get. You know, you can obviously advertise directly to participants, but participants want to know that they're working with someone that's trusted. And so if they have a trusted support coordinator or plan manager or whoever it might be, getting a referral has so much more weight than who's on Google or who's on Facebook or whatever else it might be.
That's right.
So what you're doing is really important in that space as well. You know, building that platform for people to go, right, well, you're another trusted entity that I can refer to and know that the participant's going to be taken care of first and foremost.
It is, and that's the most important part of the NDIS, I think. And I think if the participant isn't centre to what you're doing in the space, then why are you even here? You know? And so I challenge some of the people that reach out to me with that kind of question, and I have said no to some people, you know, that they're probably not the right fit for my community and the work that we do, and that's been hard. That creates haters, you know. And but I've just had to stay my own lane, and you know, with amazing advice from people I look up to, like yourself, that you just keep going and doing what you do, you know, and the right people, you know, do join along in that.
And what's your personal background or your story in the disability space?
Well, I live with disability myself. I have complex PTSD and live with depression and anxiety. So keeping a full-time job in the government roles that I've had previously has been hard. So stepping out of those employment roles and starting my own business was the best way for me to be the best single mum I could be, at the same time as help and give back to my community with my skill set and my knowledge and experience. And having your own business gives you that flexibility, but at the same time it's so much learning in running a business and having to make those tough decisions. But all of that has been part of what I've been able to then pass on to other people. I have an education background as well, like yourself, and those years in working in governance roles really opened my mind to the, let's say, the things that didn't sit right with me in the greater system. But even knowing that it's a broken system, still believing enough in myself that I can make a difference in it. It's one thing to be sort of give up and go, oh, what am I, a drop in the ocean? I'm not going to make any difference. It's another thing going, actually, I'm here and I'm here for a reason, and I can actually do something about it, even if it is a drop. It's a drop that's more than nothing at all. So I hope that what I do, one client at a time or one participant at a time, it's enough difference to leave this place at least a little better than the way I came into it.
It reminds me, I think it's a Mother Teresa quote, which is, if we all cleaned our own doorstep, the world would be a better place, right? Or a cleaner place.
Totally.
So that whole idea of we can only control what we can control, but one person actually can make a lot of difference. And it is one person at a time. If we all decided to make the world a better place, if that was everyone's objective, the world would be a better place.
Totally.
Undoubtedly. So with your community, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? Is it the complexities of the NDIS, or is it helping business owners to, figure out how to navigate? What is your the main problem?
The main problem I come across are the providers that are really heart-led into the business and have gone out on their own because they're just frustrated with seeing how other people have done it, and I know I can do this better. And they've started off doing it amazingly with their first handful of clients, but as word of mouth and reputation and quality service does in the NDIS, it grows, and it grows quickly. And they're usually not people with the business know-how to set up those systems and have those strong foundations in place at the beginning. So usually when I come in, it's all a real big mess. And they're like, Phuong, help, I'm drowning, because the options are either, like throw it in because it's gotten too much, or I'm just going to struggle until something wrong happens, and we don't want that. That's like too risky and stuff. So they come to me going, help, and sometimes the help can look like just streamlining some basic systems and making sure they're all compliant and risk-free as possible. But sometimes coming in to help is like, oh, we've got a audit or a review or renewal on the horizon, and I need to get that in order quickly. Or sometimes it's actually a really complex situation with a participant and their family, or an incident's happened. They're like, I don't know what to do. Help me. Just trying to do the right thing and be good people, but just not knowing how to navigate a really complicated, confusing space. So each and every single one of my clients, we help in a different way. Some of my clients live with disabilities themselves, and they're starting out in their own business. Being self-employed, for the first time is scary, and so you don't know what to do sometimes, and we're alongside them, right there beside them, holding their hand, available in instant messaging, what do I do here, what do I do here? We're there to help in that really personalised, custom way.
So it sounds like you really hold their hand through the whole process and help them.
Yeah.
I always like to use the analogy of, telling them where to put their foot next. So walking the journey with them and saying, step here now, step here now. Because if you were to sit down and explain to them at the beginning of your engagement all the things they have to do, it's too overwhelming and they would never move. They would just be paralysed. So you have to go, okay, all I need you to do now is submit the application. Then all I need you to do is send me your staff files. And then I just need you to prep for audit day, and then we just need to deal with that non-conformance and just breaking it down in a way where you make it seem, stress-free, manageable, little chunks.
Yes, that's right.
I always say, like, preparing for audit or anything with compliance is like eating an elephant. You just have to do it one chunk at a time. Otherwise, it's just, overwhelming. Even for someone like me who's done so many audits on both sides of the table, I feel like I still get stressed on audit day. Even as an auditor, audit day is not actually that much fun. So I can't imagine. I remember my first ever audit when I was being audited, how intimidating the process is. And having someone hold my hand through that process would have really changed things for me.
That's
so
right.
it's amazing that you can be with them on that journey as well in that way.
One of the memories I go to actually every time we go to audit is I've been a translator from the Vietnamese community for a long time, and I remember being about maybe 10, 11 years old, going to my first Centrelink appointment to interpret for my parents to Centrelink, and it was like going to figure out what their income and payment were going to be, and that's a lot of pressure for a little kid to carry in translating that information correctly so that my family can eat and pay bills. And I remember just how overwhelmed my parents felt by the whole system coming from Vietnam to Australia and not having any clue what to do. And I just sometimes see my clients a little bit like that, in the way that they're just overwhelmed by all this information and what to do, and they have no idea, and I'm just sort of this little kid going, I've got you, it's okay, we can do this, and simplifying it. That's right, breaking it down into chunks, and it's just what you need to know. You don't need to know all this other stuff. We'll deal with that later, but right now this is it here, and that's okay.
That's right. They say there's been research done on the AQF level that you need to actually navigate the scheme as a participant, that you actually need a master's degree to be able to understand the system as a participant. But there hasn't been the same study done on providers, but I think, like, looking at the language that is used, the level of language that's used, they don't make it easy. And there's, as you are well aware, there's no one you can actually call at the NDIS, at the commission, who actually wants to give you an answer. Or I don't even know if they know the answer.
They don't know the answer, or even translate it into a way that can be understandable.
No, they just say, well, it's in the standards. And it's that 500-page document that's in legal language. Who is supposed to understand this?
Government jargon and things.
And we wonder why people can't comply, or they're not complying because they don't understand, or they're not complying because they are bad providers. In my experience, in all the audits and all the registrations I've done, I've only met a handful of people trying to do the wrong thing. Most people that do the wrong thing are trying desperately to do the right thing, just don't know how to.
Exactly.
So people like you and I walking them through the process and going, no, you can't do that, or yes, you can do that, or let's talk about the risks in that approach. And having someone they can bounce those things off, so it helps them really make better decisions.
Because at the end of the day, the providers that will last the marathon, that will stay and stick around for the life of the participants, they're the ones that we want to be supporting and helping, to be there still at the end of all this, and so, and I sometimes say to people, I'm trilingual because I speak Vietnamese, Australian English and government. It's my other language.
It's true. I always say when I'm auditing people that my job as an auditor is to translate what they do into the standards, because it's not, black and white. I'm not sure all auditors feel that's their job, but I feel that, I'll ask questions like, well, how do you do that? And so I can match what their practice with the standards. But most auditors have the approach of, well, you should understand and you should be telling me how you do that in my language. And there's such a difference in the NDIS Commission's language to the NDIA's language to English. And then, of course, on top of that, you have providers and participants who might have English as a second language, or even providers who have their own communication delays, or whatever their individual experience is, that makes it one more step too complicated to actually interface with. But I feel like they're the providers we want in the space. They're the ones that are doing it for the right reasons, for the outcomes for the participant. So if we don't make it easier for them, does that mean we only get large providers? And how does that impact participants who want to work with the provider they've worked with for the last 10 years or however long?
Well, it might end up like a bit of a Coles and Woolies situation where there's only two big providers and all the people with disabilities only have two choices. So I would love to see lots of small providers that are, catered and comfortable and connected in their local communities to the families, the people, the demographics, that may be cultural or language or awareness that is, specific to their needs of that area. And I love the idea that some of the clients that we support are very diverse, and we're talking about participants as well who are living with disabilities wanting to be providers, and then providing that service in the space to other participants because they share the same experiences and stories and know what it's like to actually live with those sort of challenges and struggles or whatnot, but brings that extra compassion and empathy to the service. That's more than just a transaction, and so that's what I see has the potential, or is happening, but also has the potential to happen more so if, like yourself, bringing light to it, bringing awareness to it, people having the conversations about it and meeting each other and realising, you're in the space doing what I'm doing and we share the same values and we're heading in the same direction. That's awesome. Go you, and supporting and collaborating with each other rather than competing and cutting down and, all that sort of stuff, which I think is horrible that it happens. But it's a people thing. We're still, at the end of the day, working with humans that are imperfect.
But there's also there's enough clients, if you think of them that way, for everybody.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
And so I have no issues, and I actually don't know if maybe you could be considered a competitor of mine, but I don't actually think I have any competitors, and I don't know if that is just my ego, but I think that what I do is I will find the people who want to work with me and do it my way, and if they want to work with me how I want to do it or how I think is best, then they're right for me. And if they want to do it how someone else does it and that's better for them, then that's where they should be. Because I can't help 16,000 registered providers and 154,000 unregistered providers.
That's right.
I want to help a few people in a high touch way, and there's no way that just one of me in this sector is enough, right? We need multiple people who can help providers.
That's right.
And the same with participants. We need multiple providers who can help participants in the way that suits them best. And I'm part of a little group of providers, and between them they refer work all the time and say, look, I've got this really complex client, I can't help them anymore. Who can take this referral and actually do a better job than me? And that takes a lot of guts, but also seeing that I'm not the best fit here. And that's why it is about collaboration of, is there someone better to help this participant than me? Can, if I'm running short on time, I refer things to you and say, look, this person needs a lot of attention and I don't have the space at the moment. But I know that you're going to look after them, and that means that they get the best outcome. I'm not leaving them and say, look, I can't help them. They've got another outcome. Someone else can help them, and be guaranteed that they're going to get a good service either way.
Yeah, that's right. And look, I've never seen you as competition, Tania. Though some people have said that to me. They're like, "Isn't Tania?"
We both do similar things.
We do, but I just feel like not at all. If anything, like I look up to you where I could be in the future, and I often refer people to you and your work because and like the same, because it is a fit thing. It's like not to make it any less what we do, but I kind of think of ice cream flavors, and there's going to be different people that like different flavors, and there's going to be people who feel more comfortable working with you or I or another consultant out there, and I think there's more than enough sort of work, I guess, that comes around and goes around. That's kind of my thinking of it. And it might be a little, I don't know, casual about it, but I don't want to be stopping people from actually connecting with the people they want to work with. And I say the same to my clients and the providers that are in the space as well as their participants. You know, there's going to be people that maybe aren't a good fit for you, that aren't meant to work with you, and then there are those that really light you up and you're meant to work together. Yes, that's right. And so find those people and love them hard. I think that's the quote from Confetti Rebels. That's what it's about in this space. And I think the NDIS is only going to become this amazing space for the population of people involved in it if we are working together on it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So what do you see as next for your organisation? What's coming up in the horizon?
Yeah, so the Connect My Community has created what we've called the Super Support Team, which is the team that is behind a lot of the operations and compliance work. I guess they do more of the heavy lifting now in the business, but the Super Support Team's always been a virtual concept, and I would love to one day see the Super Support Team actually be a human element that is placed in strategic places that need that real life human face-to-face interaction that brings together parts of that local community, offering those services and referrals and collaboration opportunities, community connections and awareness that's unique to that area or that location, but still be virtually connected to the Super Support Team that's nationally available. And my dream is to have that core of the community and the participants and the potential, the good potential in the space still be core to everything we do. And, you know, having that specialist referral group of know, like and trust specialists. So when I refer to my specialist group, we're talking about people who are specialists in HR, for example, or law or finance or web design or something, but it's because I've made sure that they're that really trustworthy integrity specialist. You don't need to pay for a lawyer all the time every day, but you could be chugging along in your business and something comes up and you need that lawyer for the moment. Well, then our specialist team has a lawyer there ready for you to consult with, and they know NDIS, they know the space and what it's like, and can advise accordingly, and still be, you know, accessible in a price kind of way too, because it's part of the community we're trying to develop in supporting each other. So that's kind of my dream, in a sense, is getting out there and creating that community around us.
Wonderful. Yeah. And if providers want to reach out with you to discuss your super support team or Connect My Community in general, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, I am on the socials, Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, but I've got a website, connectmycommunity.com.au, but I also am happy for people to just DM me. I think the young people call it sliding.
Slide into your DMs?
Sliding into my DMs. I can feel my 14-year-old's eyes roll as we say this. But yeah, I'm pretty easy to contact and find. It's usually starting with that first conversation to see, you know, in how we can help you, because it's just like literally no two clients of mine do we help the same way. We usually, you know, have that first cuppa, you know, together, and before you know it, I'm like, my little wheels turn away, and I think of my team and my specialists and all the people in my community. I'm like, we can do that.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so great to talk to you and to get to meet you in person.
Yes.
And yeah, I can't wait to see what's next for you and Connect My Community.
Oh, thank you, Tania. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on another enlightening episode of Innovate for Impact. Stay tuned for more thought-provoking conversations and innovative ideas that drive positive change within the NDIS space. Remember, together we're shaping a future where innovation and impact go hand in hand.